Today's topic is the immigrant family. We're going to go through it in two parts because there's a lot we want to talk about. And I know that there's a lot you want to listen to as well. Hello, welcome to our Let's Talk Marriage discussion series. Today with me, as usual, is Yinka Marcus. Welcome.
Thank you.
Sam Babatunde, welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Kofu Babatunde, welcome.
Thank you.
And my humble self here, Yinka Marcus, welcoming you back again. Today's topic is the immigrant family. We're going to go through it in two parts because there's a lot we want to talk about. And I know that there's a lot you want to listen to as well. So the immigrant family, whether you are from Africa, Caribbean, or anywhere in the world, going to a different country to live with your family, there's always some issues, as we all know. Today we're going to look at your expectations from your home of origin before you ventured out. And we're going to see how were those expectations? What happened or what is happening to you if you're a new immigrant? What are the trauma that you're experiencing? How are your children? How is your move affecting your mental health? How's work going? How is conflicts at work? How are you doing with all these other problems that you're facing? Maybe you're not facing any problems, that's fine too. But we want to talk about these things and also how to really adjust in a new environment. So welcome, come with us. Okay, so let's dive into it. Expectations. A lot of us, we moved from Africa, from Nigeria especially, and we all had expectations before we moved. Talk to us about your own expectation when you were moving from Nigeria to Canada.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay.
In my heart, I knew, it's going to be a better world, a better place where things work. Where my focus was, our focus then was, getting the children established and settled, in school, education, better life, better quality of life. That was all that was in my heart. We didn't quite think about settlement and adjustment and all that. So that wasn't so much in the forefront at that time. So, and so we left Nigeria. We're excited. Of course, the stress of even getting out of Nigeria was huge. So by the time we finally got visas or got anything, we're like tired, because we had to go through a lot of, documentations. Unbelievable. So we were coming in stressed even. Yeah. And then getting into the land, and it was like, okay, we're here. It's not like yesterday. It's not like where we're coming from. It's so different in terms of the what we saw there, the responsibilities, the things we need to do. It was just unbelievable. So, so our expectations was met that we came out of Nigeria, yes, and then we got into this land that's supposed to be flowing with milk and honey, and it's like we have to dig into
the milk.
Dig the milk out, and So
awesome.
I would stop there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And how was the difference for you, Sam?
Wow. Well, expectations. In the first place, maybe because of a previous short travels to like UK or US, there was a little bit of adaptation already in place for me. Okay. But nevertheless, it was still a bit of a change getting to know that you are now planning to do what? to live for good.
You stay here. Yeah.
And mine still took a little bit of a different twist because, yes, we came in, settled down the family, which is the most important objective or goal. Then I still have to be shuttling, you know, for a job, for my project work. So I kind of have a very easy, smoothing, settling down arrangement, unlike the family that just in one fell swoop, just have a change, bam, today from London, and then from London to...
Right. So you've had some experience of moving,
many
going to different countries and working there for some time,
so
and coming. That makes a difference. For sure, for sure. What about you, Yinka? How was that?
Well, I think there are lots of expectations. Like Kufa said, you thought you were going to a land flowing with milk and honey, but you don't consider the social aspect of it, even the weather. So, and that was a big shock. I remember the first day I came out one day and it was all dark, and I was checking my time, whether I stayed too long at work, but it was weather change. So there were all those differences that kind of act like a shocker, and you can go and knock on your neighbor's door at will and say hello, and missing family, siblings and nephews and nieces. That kind of took a little bit out of me, I must say.
So we're saying that, of course, we just carried our bags, suitcases, and we're like, we're off to a land that will give us give us good things with our children, with ourselves, and work, and everything should be fine. We'll be fine. Yeah, and it's true, we'll be fine. It's just that sometimes the way to get to be fine is very strenuous. And so some of the things that we experienced, basically, like the family support, that it was not there. I mean, like, you had everyone around you in Nigeria or wherever you came from, and they were there. They're just like a call away or a phone call away, and they're there, or they're even living with you. You had people who would come and live with you from wherever, maybe a niece, or like you were saying, to help out with children and all that. So we had all that family support, and you had people drive you everywhere, and the change. So let's talk a little bit about your experience when it comes to the change that you experienced.
Okay.
One change.
Yeah, for example, back in Nigeria, we're very active in the church. We could, first of all, we had housemates and supports and all that at home. And so the focus of the children and ourselves was, get your education, go to school, come back, do some little menial things, but not really investing in the children training, training them in household chores, to be confident, doing it, even at their ages. They were not young. So the first shocker was, we got in there, well, you think it's life as usual, put your hand in many things that you can do, be responsible to many departments in the church and all that. And then I'll come back home and I find out that my home is the way I left it in the morning. And so I'm starting life all over at home, and it was uncomfortable. And if care was not taken at that time, we lash it on the children. But they don't know what to do. They were never responsible like that from Nigeria. They don't take those responsibilities up for themselves. So we had to start teaching our children how to slice onions, how to be sure that things are in place. So, and then I realized that, we've got to do what we're able to do. I can't break myself into so many parts outside the home.
They have to be involved.
They have to be involved in the home.
That's a big difference.
Which we don't pay attention to back in Nigeria. Some people do. Some people that were smarter they knew that, I had to get the children to do all this. But some of us didn't know that. So it was there that it dawned on us that, you know what, we've got to re-strategize how this home is going to run, yeah.
Right. So the stress of beginning again to now teach them a lot of things that they didn't know from Nigeria. One of my stressor was the school system. School system is different.
Completely.
And in Nigeria, as soon as you're 2, you start to learn 1, 2, 3, your numbers, your alphabets, and all that. And so, and some nursery rhymes, and you know a lot of that. And by 3 or 4, you're ready to go, just school.
Mathematics.
So we got here, and the teacher called me one day and said, "What are you teaching your daughter? I mean, why is she knowing all these things by this age?" So I'm like, "Oh, that is too much for her. It's too what?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay. So what do you want me to do?" Well, slow her down a little bit so that she can join the other classmates and she won't be too much above. And I'm like, okay. So that was a shocker because I just thought they know what they know.
Yeah.
And I can't stop her from learning. That really shocked me a little bit. Yinka?
And I think another, because it's a lot of adjustment to move to a new place, right?
Right.
At home, well, in your country, you've settled down to a particular pattern, depending on where you are in the job structure and stuff, and seniority. You come to a different country, you may have to begin again, and people who are your supervisors or your bosses are younger, and even if you have an older one, sometimes you have to call them by name, and you're wondering, how can I call my senior by name and stuff like that? Because so those are one of those things that I had to adjust to. And also, at home, you have lots of classmates and they are kind of in the same kind of area, level-wise. But here, you don't know anybody, you don't have classmates, you don't have friends. You got to start all over again. There's nobody to support you. Sometimes, you got to look at all those things.
Sam, anything for you?
I kind of think I may describe that last description as a humbling experience. Because indeed, I think the old adage saying says when you get to Rome. The Romans. It reminds me of one of our sons too, who came in much later. Came in as also a medical doctor, and found himself that he has to begin almost like a nurse. And that was a very humbling experience to say, no, assistant, not even nurse, assistant nurse, or assistant whatever. So, well, it took these strides, and which I think is very key for everyone coming into a new environment. We've got to learn a bit of how to be in Rome, or be a Roman in Rome. Pick up your pieces and roll your sleeves. Or alternatively, if you are blessed, you could also just be able to apply for something that is a direct fit for you.
Right.
And if the system is lacking in that area, they might actually absorb you right away. Where that one does not work, then we must develop and accept that humbling experience.
Right.
Learn to walk the ropes with whatever you meet and grant.
And we'll come to the adjustment part.
Exactly.
Later on in this.
Then the social side, like I remember the first time we landed, and we're just thinking, okay, so what do we do tomorrow or next day? We had to go out. We are many in the family, 6 of us, and for the first time we went to go enjoy the bus. But I must comment, I think at this point, the very, very friendly Canadian environment. I remember as we were just going out and approaching that bus stop, one Canadian was just driving by in his car And he was about to offer us a lift, and I just said,
Oh.
does that happen here?
Give you a ride?
Give me a ride.
All of you?
Yeah, of course. I said, wow.
That's sweet.
So we had to tell them, don't worry, we want to go and enjoy a busing experience. So let's go.
That's
But
awesome.
it was a good mix of, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you also have a show of a helping hand.
Like you were saying, a lot of people come in and they get a job in their field,
Yes.
like almost right away. That's really great for them,
Great.
but a lot of people don't, and they have to do a lot of menial jobs to survive the first few months or years even
Yeah.
before they qualify for their own profession. And that can be really stressful. It can be really stressful on the family itself, on whoever came with them, because especially with men who may want to be the breadwinner for their home, for their family, and so it can be really stressful and traumatic. One of the things that I also found really strange is the driving. And here you had to do driving tests. I mean, at home, you drove in a place we call Lagos, you know, and if you could drive in Lagos, you could drive anywhere. That's what we thought. But then again, you had to come here, driving test. You fail your driving test, it's just like, oh, shame. Like, I failed driving test. I drive even big trucks in Nigeria, right? So those are the things when you talk about humbling yourself. And I think I did the driving test 3 times before I finally passed. It was ridiculous, but you know that's what it is. We need to learn how things are, the system here, the speed limit, all the things that we don't have, and we just need to learn all those things. So all these things can be very stressful and traumatic for us, you know, even with all the failed expectations, things that we have expected that we didn't get them, and so it does have a lot on it does have a toll on the family itself, and so let's go into quickly mental health. How this whole change can affect our mental health. Can you help us with that?
Yeah, of course, like we said earlier, it's a lot of adjustment, and the adjustment can be frustrating at times, and also humbling, and it can cause a lot of anxiety because you worry about when are you going to start driving that car officially, you know, when are you going to get a job, when are you going to start earning for your family, right? School, the kids are going to go to. You know, before you get a job, are you just going to be sitting at home? All those things cause anxiety, a lot of anxiety, and may lead to even depressed mood sometimes, and happy people, you know, which may lead to taking it out on innocent bystanders or something, or
like
even,
your husband, your wife, your children, you know.
So there are lots of adjustments, and hopefully it doesn't lead to worse situations, but usually there's anxiety and much symptoms.
So that's another bad side of the whole experience, the change, and how you're going to transition into this place without your mental health. It's very tough, and it's also tough on children because there's peer problems, peer issues, and all that when they get to school. Any experience on that for you, Sam, with your children?
Quite good experience. There's always a tendency, because all of us who are facing the same ordeal of a new environment, a new culture, social, mental, bottom line, financial as well, financial health. And in getting that much carried away, you may easily forget, or the children may fall into the cracks because they were small, maybe, or you're much younger, and then maybe they couldn't express themselves better as to what they were going through. So you kind of easily forget that they may be going through a lot as well.
So they stuff a lot in.
They stuff a lot of in, and I think one example came to a head at one time that we just saw that looks like this guy is not it's not an optimal performance level. And then we called him and had a small chat. And that chat, God just ordained that my sweetheart and myself and him were in the same frequency and wavelength to hear, to really gather what was going on. And then we started noticing that it was just not responding at the same time. Then we said, oh boy, come. Are you overwhelmed? And he just broke down in tears. That's when I knew that, we probably been a bit too much focused on ourselves, trying to adjust or get ourselves together, and we forgot that these people also have emotions. They have their own feelings still running, and then we embraced and then began a fresh line of encouragement. Center shifting from ourselves to them the more. And
so you paid more attention
exactly
to the children
than
and
ourselves.
asking more questions about.
Of course, needless to talk that our own is now more on the back burner, yet we are also going through it. So it's quite some challenge, really. Some challenge.
So we talk about work conflicts, things that happen at work, or whatever the job is, whether it's personal business or you're working for someone or even those what we call menial jobs too. You face all kinds of problems there. Did you have any experience like that?
Yes, I do. I think first of all, we wanted to talk about the accent. Accents. Language, because that can be very traumatic. Because communication is so important, right? You want to hear what they say, and you want them to hear what you're saying. And so both sides are frustrated. You're trying to understand them, they're trying to understand you, and so it's like you're saying things over and over and they don't get it, and they're saying over and over and you don't get it, so everybody's frustrated. So that was the first thing in the workplace.
Oh, wow.
And then we come from an environment where the boss, kind of, not that they're dictators, but they
high
kind
up there.
Yes, and then they lead. They tell you, so when you go for a meeting, for example, that was my first shocker. They're expecting that you're coming to that meeting to move things forward.
Yeah, you have an initiative.
You have your own initiative and you're putting it on the table and you're thinking outside of the box or wherever they're going. But for us, where we come from, it's like the boss has what he wants to do.
He tells you what to do
and then he tells you, and you can contribute a little bit here and there, but you can't really, in most places, come up with, this is what I'm thinking. And this. So that was a shocker for me. And then it comes to how we respect or regard our bosses. And out of that respect of our bosses back in Nigeria, where we come from, is you don't look at their faces,
no eye contact.
No eye contact, but here, no eye contact means that you have something up your sleeves. And so you can't be trusted. They are suspicious about you. So I had to force myself, even though it looks like pains are getting into my eyes. It's like they're poking me with pains. To look people in the it's like, I'm going to disappear. But you got to do it because that's what this environment entails. So those are little things that really matter. And you won't be taken seriously when you're not looking into the person's eyes that you're talking at. They are looking at you like, so those adjustments.
And they're looking for your eyes.
Exactly, and then you're like, you're looking
this way. My own eyes are busy
they're going everywhere. They're like, why are you looking
trying
over
to
there?
scan the whole place.
So the need to adjust. From what you're saying right now, with that eye contact thing, you learned how to do that, and of course you're able to now be able to communicate more because of course we learn that communication is not just in words but in eye contact, in the way your body language and all these things that we learned after a while. And so what are the adjustments? How would you tell people? Of course, we've gone there. We've talked about some of those ways to adjust. But let's just go into that more on how to adjust in a new environment.
Okay. Can I take the lead?
Yes, please.
Let me piggyback on where my sweetheart stopped on the issue of working environment here. It's a new process. You've got to learn about how to focus on people and get talking. But I think the aspect I want to bring up is the aspect of critical thinking. they call it. So you all have the same script you read or prepare for a meeting. They are not expecting you to come in there and start rehearsing the same story that everybody had in their hands. So people are waiting for fresh thinking, fresh initiative, out of the box, and focus on people that you are talking to and share. That whips up a deeper reflection in them to say, oh, maybe we just have a narrow thought before now, but look at this other dimension of going it. Whereas, as she said, if this is the way the company wants to run, or the boss wants to run his show, I just want to fulfill and get off my and get my paycheck and be off, you know. So that has to change. Think deeper about the items or subject of the matter and prepare for some critical thinking about what can be done. Fresh initiatives, you know. Whether they're going to land well at all or not is a different ball game, but at least pull them up.
Critical thinking. And we've talked a lot too about reading up about the system in the land you're going. How does it work there? How do people who have lived there survived?
Exactly.
How have they been successful? Reading up on, like for me with the driving, I didn't even know anything about speed limit and four-way stop and, you know, all those things. And I'm like, what is four-way stop? Where am I stopping? There's no car. And so those are the things. We need to read up on all these things before we even move. So that when we come here, we know that this is what we're getting to. That's one thing.
In a way, though, I don't think for many of the, what age shall we call our own right now? Is it, we're not Gen Z anyway. For some older generations. Baby boomers, exactly. For that kind of a category of people from Nigeria or some other African countries or African Caribbean countries, we used to still have very, very, very deep and rich preparation for something like driving. Driving test. I remember my old driving test. It was touchy. And so it gave me some supernatural confidence when I was getting here to say, what new things shall we learn? But when they landed me that manual, there was a big manual I got for the driving test. I just said, wow, am I going to pass the major exam out here, you know? But then when I opened up the book, I found that, honestly speaking, they were more just like enhancement of the things that we had done before. And to kind of relax you when you're now understanding. So something like this four-way stop, at first I just felt, if this is in Nigeria, man, you're going to have a lot of accidents out here. Because people are not going to wait for each other, you know?
Right.
But I saw discipline being inculcated by such small practices like that. People are now encouraged to bear each other's burden, that is, respect the people also on the road, you know, that kind of a thing. So I felt more relaxed. The only aspect that was challenging was when we say, okay, we are expecting you to move or you didn't move, and that can cause a very serious accident. Whereas back home you'll be thinking of defensive driving. That means you apprehend a situation before it gets tough, and then you hold back. That's your hold back. Somebody has already bashed you behind because they expect you to already move.
I know. I had an accident like that. Somebody hit me. He said, you should have moved. I'm like, I didn't know. Sorry.
But I think one of the things that also happens is that we talked about being humble, because sometimes by the time you migrate with a family, you have had a lot of experience in your job. So you come here, you may be starting at a lower level, but you have all this knowledge, right? You know, and so the tendency to not show off, not that you mean to show off, but you just saying what you know may make some people feel intimidated. So that's part of the humility you have to kind of tone it down a little bit.
And it's kind of tricky because if you don't even approach that humbling experience, you may not even get a job.
Right.
You may not get a job. You're waiting for them to pick you up at your level. Then you've got to go through a lot of certification, check this, check that. But sometimes you find that path easier to walk by just taking
the humble,
stooping to conquer.
Yes.
And then really walk yourself through the system. You are now more easily accepted that we have been with this guy before. We know his mannerism, we know his thoughts. Then I remember that a young boy was a good example. In the moment he started displaying a little bit of knowledge of what they were doing, just say, is this really a nurse? This guy thinks to know much more than we do around here. So then he will back down a bit again and just flow with them. And in a short while, under a year, I think, which was quite express for me compared with if you have to go through all the papers, certification, wait for this, wait for that, But I think also maybe for the Canadians too, they need to do some adjustment around there as well.
Right, yeah.
Because we're talking about mixed environment and
I think we're getting there. I'm seeing a lot of people more tolerant, of okay, so I can understand you. Yeah. I can listen.
Exactly.
And understand what you're saying. You're speaking English, so it's not like you're speaking a foreign language. So I'm listening, and there's that effort.
Yes.
Being put into
and they can chat people up and track their previous experiences or performances, take them up on a short interview, and do kind of a really mini mock test, not the whole hog of saying people should go and go through for. Anyway.
So Kofo, any more adjustments?
And I would think that also we can't afford to isolate ourselves. We have to be out there. That's how you learn. And I know it could be very intimidating.
Networking.
Yeah, networking. It could be very intimidating, yes. Because if you don't associate with people who have been here before, or people from here, from the new place you're in, how do you want to learn? So it's part of you have to humble yourself to learn. Make sure you're networking with people of like minds, where you want to go into, find out information, read especially. People say that if you don't want people to get knowledge, to know what to do, hide it in the book because they probably won't read. So we need to get books and read. And then I want to dive a little bit to our children too, because it's part of the adjustment, right? In this environment, this new environment that we find ourselves, we have to learn to communicate with the children. We have to learn to talk to them. We can't do, even the child that is doing well, for that one needs more talk than the one that's not doing well, because the one not doing well is already known and seen. But the one doing well, how are you coping? How are you able to do this much that you're doing? There must be some
driving force somewhere.
Yeah, so you need to find out how they're actually doing, talking with them. We need to put a little bit behind the way we deal with children from where we're coming from, and look at the way they deal with children here, marry the two together, and take the best of the two. If you want to go and stay on the right side, the children on the left side, is not going to work. I remember that our children, when we, came in like that, in the first week, they didn't like the fact that the school they were going to didn't have uniforms. Because it was strange to them that, how could you not have uniforms? And then when they got into it, they found that this is a better way to go. You can wear whatever you want to school. And they see the way their friends dress and all that. They wanted to do that. So my husband would be on the left side, far left. The children are on the far right. And I said, you know what, let's come to the middle. They want to wear something very skimpy. My husband said, no, Elizabethan dress, frock. I said, it's not going to work. The children are not going to look odd in the midst of their friends. So a lot of adjustment in those areas. Everything is not that the children are bad or terrible, but we just need to have understanding and let them have understanding too, and then compromise, work together, almost like a democratic government that you begin to run in your home. So they have a say, you have your say, and then you look at it together. It doesn't diminish us as parents. It's just going to help us adjust better in this environment. Yeah.
And I think we can learn from the children too, because whether we like it or not, it's a generation gap.
Oh yeah.
When we were growing up, it was the phone that you have to dial, that kind of way, but now it's the iPhone and the Samsung thing and stuff like that. So, and we have to also move with the progress that the world is making. Otherwise, it can cause lots of conflict at home.
That's sure. Talking about conflict right now, that should lead us to something about the area of trauma. The traumas that goes with all this, and how that can also lead to some kind of mental or health challenge, trauma, and the need for us to be nipping it in the bud early enough to prevent people slipping into that coma of trauma.
Yeah.
Because if you allow someone to start sedating you or capturing you, very soon depression and all this other negative stuff will come in. So parents in particular need to be more sensitive in the adjustment and prevent, or at least minimize the tendency of slipping into serious trauma.
That's right. A lot of adjustment. The parents have a lot to do.
Yep.
Parents have a lot of work to do because we don't want to lose our children to anything, to welfare and things that may happen. And sometimes it's very tough because the parents are trying so hard to get a good job, to make sure that children are well looked after. And if we stay with jobs and doing all these other things, trying to make ourselves better in the environment, and we lose sight of taking care of our children, communicating with them and conversing with them, and just paying attention more and more to them, then there will be issues. And these adjustments, we're hoping and praying that adjustments can happen very quickly, wisely, and with all consistency that we really need. I think we can end it here quickly. Maybe a quick final thought before we round up.
Good. For me, come down from your sycamore tree of pride. In this land, it's a land of opportunities, but you got to humble yourself and take it one step at a time, one move at a time. And I also use a counter appeal also to the system as well to recognize these changes. Sometimes some of them are very sharp, and let's make some rooms. In Canada, bills don't wait, so you got to pay. And that puts continuous pressure on the parents to start looking for how to make ends meet and pay bills. And at the same time, something starts falling into the cracks. But together, we work together in unity as a family and humble ourselves. I think it can easily break the ceiling, the glass ceiling.
Thank you, Kofo.
I want to say go back to school. I know this is very tough one for most men. Women will do, they can do 1,001 things, quickly. Will come down mostly. Not, that's just the way we are wired, really. But for the men, I would say go back to school. Do something new. Just add something to where you're at. It might better your lot, eventually, yes. Give you more opportunities.
Be ready
to change, even, we come from a place where you're a doctor, you just face, that's all you know. You don't know any other thing. You're an engineer, that's all you know. You're a teacher, that's all you know. But in this environment, you can have your hands, there are some desires in your heart, some passion you have. You can develop them, and it becomes something that would drive your economic engine.
Together with your engineering or your...
with anything you're doing. So go to something else. That might be the
something.
reason, that might be the thing that will, that will catch it for you in this new environment. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you. Yinka?
Yeah, for me, I would agree with everything everybody has said, but I would also put the weight on the parents, because the kids are looking up to the parents for direction, and the parents should know that they're here together. It's not one person outdoing the other person. So if they work together, like Sam said about unity, because it's one family after all, it's not separate people. I think things may be better.
Awesome. So we'll leave you with that. And for me, it's about being real, be realistic about what you really want, and make realistic goals, so that you're not making goals that you may never meet and then you're struggling. And so with that, we say thank you for watching. I know you may have a lot of more questions, a lot of more ideas, and whatever else you want to say to us. Check us up on our website. Send us an email. Tell us what you think about this. And we'll be really happy to hear from you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.